Hey y'all, Glenn Rave Redline here from Team Brink Cycling Headquarters in Niagara Falls, Ontario. This is my brand new YouTube series where we're going to go through the ins and outs of bicycle commuting, what you need to know to do it safely and effectively, some of the gear you might need, and some tips and tricks along the way. So let's plunge right into it.
But if you close your eyes,
so step one to bicycle commuting is you must own a bicycle. There's plenty of different options out there to choose from. Personally, I like to ride road bikes. I find they're speedier, they're more approachable. You can get a lot of good exercise out of them, and you can coast a hell of a lot easier because they're more aerodynamic. Now you might be more inclined to lean towards a mountain bike or a fat bike, something with suspension. If you're older, less flexible, you might want a little bit of give in your suspension, which is nice, especially for longer commutes or bumpy terrain. Now I have 3 bicycles, and they all do different things for me. I have what I call my daily commuter, which is a single speed, not a fixed gear, it still coasts, but one gear. It's an 80s road bike. I think it's a Peugeot. It's been through many hands and alterations. That has my full pannier bags and lights galore for back and forth to the grocery store, little errands to my girlfriend's house, that sort of thing. That is generally the bike I'm going to ride if it's raining or not necessarily fantastic weather outside. I don't mind if it gets a little bit of salt on it. I can give it a clean when I get home with hot soapy water and lubricate the chain once again. But if I get a little bit of rust going on, it's not the end of the world. It's an older bike and it's more forgiving for the harsher elements. Then of course I have my prized, coveted road bike. It's a 2013 Giant Defy 3. Not the most expensive road bike on the market, but it works just fine for me. This is the bike that I race with. It's also the bike that I take if I'm looking to get there in a hurry. A lot of times on a clear day when the weather isn't wet, or even through the winter when it's not too cold, I'll ride my road bike to work, which is approximately 8-kilometer drive, just so I can feel like I'm getting there in really good time. If the stoplights work out, I can get home in 15 minutes, and it really weaves in and out of traffic well. The third bike I own is something I recently added to the corral. It's a fat bike. So the tires are roughly that wide. It's totally different coming from a road bike background. It's very heavy. It takes forever to get up to speed, but once you do and you can keep your cadence up, the momentum you carry is pretty palpable. It's totally rideable once you learn how to ride it. It took me a long time to get used to it because I'm trying to sled away on the pedals and it's just not happening. It's too heavy of a bike to really manhandle. You just sort of have to slowly build in your speed, and you'd be surprised how comfortable it really is. The tire noise is something that's totally different. It always sounds as though there's a transport truck coming up behind you. Hearing road noise from rotating tires is not something I'm accustomed to from the road bikes, but it's sort of a welcome change. It's kind of comforting. It gives a really good feel to the bike. You feel like it's a monster truck. It's pretty neat. Now I picked that bike up in anticipation for the kind of weather I'm expecting this winter. Last winter we lucked out. There was probably 4 or 5 times it snowed, and when it did, it was not the end of the world. This season, allegedly, we have a ton of snow coming and really bad weather slated. So if that is the case, I went with a fat bike because that's going to offer me the most grip in those conditions. Having stability and riding uphill with stability in the wintertime is not something you can expect to have in most road bikes. The tires are just too skinny. There's been so many occasions where I've been trying to just slug uphill and you can feel the tire slipping underneath you, and it's just so disconcerting. So the fat bike will hopefully correct that. I haven't ridden it through the winter yet. I've only had it for a month or 2, but it handles fantastic in the wet. Really stable over gravel and mud. So we'll see. I'm expecting good things. So you have a bike to ride, you've made your choice. The next step in kitting it out for winter riding, or indeed any kind of bicycle commuting, is lights. Little lights like this, they come from the dollar store or online. They're about $1 a piece. They work fantastic for markers in the rear so you can be seen. They have a couple different options: on, solid, flashing, and they're cheap, they're easy, they attach with elastic to most bicycle frames or seat posts. Would highly recommend that. As far as headlights go, you're looking for two things. One, try and get it waterproof. There is going to be a lot of situations where it will get wet, and there's nothing more frustrating than having a beautiful LED light that just rots out inside because moisture is getting in over time. The second thing you're looking for is lumens. You want as much as possible. I spent some decent money on my road bike getting it out with a 5600 lumen light. It's like a car headlight. I can see 2 stoplights ahead. It's just fantastic. A huge beam of light. There's no question of what's that on the ground when I'm riding. I see exactly what's ahead of me, and I'm extremely confident that pedestrians, other bicycle traffic, and vehicles can see me, which is very important. Now, a lot of the lights that I use have separate batteries. They're rechargeable. I plug it into the wall at night. If you use traditional LED lights that are, for the most part, powered with AA or AAA batteries, be sure to have a couple extra with you at all times, because you never know when you're going to run out, and if you happen to be coming back in the middle of the night, that's not the time you want to run out of juice. Now, from time to time, heading back and forth to work, and certainly going to get groceries, I need some storage on my bike. I mentioned before, my commuter bike has pannier bags. There are rear saddlebags. You can get them rear and front. They fit over a special frame that covers your rear tire, and mine are 20-liter capacity each side, so they're quite large. This is enough for me to get a full basket of groceries and fit that in my pannier bags. I also have a center bag called a bento bag that I have in between my drop handlebars. Fits really well. It's a nice aerodynamic design. It's not a whole lot of drag. My lights can see over top of it because it's a low profile design, and that's great for, you know, headphones, wallet, keys, stuff that you don't necessarily want to have in your pants rubbing away in your pockets. Just like with lights, if you look at the material the backpack is made of and it's of a waterproof design, that's fantastic. That's what you're looking for, because you never know when you're going to be caught in the rain, and you don't want everything you're carrying to be a soggy mess. The next thing you should always have with you is water. Whether you carry in a water bottle or a saddlebag or the weird beer can hat thing, helmet hybrid, as long as you have water with you, you're safe. There's been many times where I've taken off home or, you know, going to work. It's only a 15-20 minute ride, so you think, well, I can just blast through the heat, and you get to the stoplight and man, you're just dying for a drink. So it's really important to carry water, because you never know when a short ride could turn into a longer one. Now, clothing. Clothing is something that is kind of specialized to bicycling. You can get specific jeans designed for bicycle commuting. They unzip at the back and reveal a little bit more fabric so that you can pull it up, because when you're leaned over, especially on drop handlebars on a road bike, you tend to get a little butt crack showing, which if you're fine with, hey, no worries, but not everybody behind you is going to want to see that. Long sleeve shirts are great, you know, if it's cooler weather. Gloves are absolutely essential. Even on days where it's, you know, 5 degrees, maybe around 0, the wind shear alone can be killer on your hands. Makes it hard to hold on to the handlebars and give you the control you need. Gloves are great. Try and keep fingers. When it's really cold, I'll wear mittens, but not too often, because it just hampers your controls on the bike. Now, there's plenty of bicycle specific clothing that you can get online. I understand the price point may be a factor for a lot of you out there. That may be why you decided to do bicycle commuting in the first place. So as long as your right leg is somewhat tight around your ankle, or at least rolled up, or they even have little aluminum bars that'll clip around to keep your pant leg from going into the sprocket, that's what you want. Nothing sucks more than crashing and ripping your pants because they've just been too wide and got caught in the gears. This is always a good idea to plan to be cold for the first few minutes of your ride, say the first 2-3 minutes, because naturally you will warm up as you're churning away at those pedals. So if you're going out on a day where it's about 0 degrees, Maybe you're comfortable in a thick sweater and gloves that you can remove and a toque, so that once you warm up on the bike, you can kind of climatize yourself again so that you're not sweating your brains out when you get to where you're going. And the last thing that is absolutely critical to bicycle commuting is the longest lock you can find. I prefer the bendable locks, the ones that come in 3-meter steel cable with the protective sheathing. They're the most flexible design of a lock. Not everywhere you go is going to have a designated area to lock your bike. You might find yourself chaining up to street posts or signs or a fence somewhere, and that really offers you the best protection. Remember, always go through the frame and through the front wheel. That way your front wheel isn't missing when you come back out. And with that, we have just a couple of tips to start bicycle commuting. It's a great way to stay in shape. You save a ton of money, especially if you get rid of your car in the process with time. You save gas, you save insurance money, you save repairs on a vehicle. You get in shape the whole time you're doing it, and you're going to feel great. So that's what we're left with. Future videos, I'm going to get a little bit more in depth on each one of those topics that I brought up today, as well as tips and tricks to riding effectively, holding lanes properly, and making sure you stay safe on the road. I'm going to try and get some good footage of my actual commute so I can show you where to hold yourself in a lane in upcoming videos. But that's it for today. So thanks for watching. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions, throw those down in the comment page, and we'll communicate from there. Glenn Rave out.
But if you close your eyes